We come to the last presentation. It's from Professor Arvo Viltrop from the Estonian University of Life Sciences. He is a professor of veterinary bio and population medicine at the Institute for Veterinary Medicine and Animal Sciences of the Estonian University of Life Sciences. He's involved in research on different aspects, but more prominent from July 2018. He is a member of the scientific panel of animal health and welfare of the European Food Safety Agency. And his presentation will be on a really important topic, which is not so long ago happening in Europe. It's on African swine fever epidemic in the Baltic states, changing the paradigm. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon. So as a last speaker, I understand I have no time limit, so I can speak about everything I want. Oh, I would like to see my slides. I can speak by heart, but are they? Oh, they are there. Oh, yes. No, these are not here. Okay, I will try to manage. Well, African swine fever then, yes. Yeah, as already said, that this is a big threat to our very beloved food supply. We are here in Estonia great admirers or enjoyers of pork meat, and not only here. Through Europe, the pork meat is important type of meat. And of course, those who love pork might know that the epidemic of African swine fever is threatening our pig populations. Yes, our example here is about the collaboration of government agencies and the universities. So immediately after the epidemic started, even before that, we have been collaborating with our government agencies in this topic. Okay, I hope I can give a short introduction on African swine fever. This is caused by a virus, which is quite a unique virus in the world. It has no relatives whatsoever. It's the only representative of its family and its family. Of course, it can be called also a super virus because regarding the transmission, it's able to transmit with all possible means of transmission what a virus ever can have. So direct contacts, nose-to-nose contacts, indirect contacts through the environment, and it's of course very persistent, temperature resistant, and it can survive in the meat even when you heat it up to 70 degrees for a short time. So therefore it can be very easily transmitted from place to place by meat products. And that's the main reason why it can really spread for the very long distances. Well, African swine fever, our present understanding or previous understanding about the African swine fever is presented on this slide, actually. So there are some statements which are taken from the website or technical fact sheet of the World Animal Health Organization. So you can read it, but I can't read it, and I don't know them exactly by heart. But first thing is that it is considered a highly contagious disease, and it is considered that it can rapidly spread within populations. And third, which is not from the fact sheet, but from the other sources, we can see that actually it has been considered that the virus can persist for a long time in Eurasian wild boar populations. So it is spread, of course, in wild Swedes of Africa, where it is endemic and it doesn't cause any disease in these animals. They are resistant, they can carry the virus, and from these animals in Africa, the virus is transmitted to domestic pigs. They can circulate in domestic pig populations, but Eurasian wild boar has been considered pretty harmless regarding the disease persistence in the area or country. So now the African swine fever epidemic started in 2007 from Georgia, where it was probably introduced with food waste from the ships from Africa. The virus is originating from Madagascar. We know by the genotype it comes from the Madagascar. So it started from Georgia and spread through the Russia, and by 2014 it reached European Union. And during the time when the epidemic evolved in Russia, these basic paradigm, the basic paradigm was kind of followed. We could see that really the virus was behaving like expected. But already then, Russian authorities, veterinary authorities, started to speak that the wild boars might have some more important role in spreading the disease. But of course, as there were so many outbreaks in domestic pigs, it couldn't be proven. So in 2014, the virus entered Baltic states and Poland. Well, in Latvia, Lithuania, in Poland, immediately after introduction, they also experienced very quickly outbreaks in domestic pigs. But Estonia was somewhat exception. Virus entered Estonian territory in September 2014, and we managed to stay without any outbreak in domestic pigs until summer of the next year, almost 11 months, more or less. Which means that the virus really persisted in the wild boar population for a long time, we could say many months, which was actually almost a year at least. So when we went more into the issue and looked more deeply into the epidemiology of the African swine fever in Estonia, we realized that actually we had two separate introductions in Estonia, one in the south and the other one in the northeast. And the northeastern introduction must have been there already many months before it was discovered in the south. So it also proves that the virus can survive, can persist in the wild boar population for longer periods, more than a year at least. So that's the map of today, of Europe. You can see that also these blue dots there represent now the wild boar cases, and red dots, if you can see them, they represent domestic outbreaks. And if you look at Estonia, you see there are quite many dots, still blue dots, but no dots in red. Yeah, which also shows that we don't have any outbreaks this year. We haven't had any outbreaks in domestic pigs, but the disease is surviving in wild boar. Well, the virus has spread by today up to Belgium. We have cases in wild boars in Belgium. Of course, this is not due to movement of wild boars, unless we have wild boar like this, which has been registered by at least one artist in Estonia, who got inspired actually by the epidemic of African swine fever in wild boar, and this was his wish that the wild boar could have wings and fly away from the African swine fever, but I would say, fortunately, they don't have. Otherwise, they would spread it all over the world, probably, yeah? all over Europe. Okay, well, you see, this is where the virus is in the east. It is China, and in China, it's only in domestic pigs. There are no reports in wild boar. That means that the disease is still following also the traditional scenario. It's not only wild boar involved, also people are involved, of course. Okay, now this is what we observed actually. Now I want to come, I hope it will oh dear, did it change here? I wanted to come to the research which have been done. These were our observations. This information is collected by the state veterinary agencies, veterinary and food board in Estonia. But now some research is needed to analyze this data, because in epidemiology, as in demography, you can't believe everything what you observe. You need some analysis to prove that what you see is truth. So here the Estonian University of Life Sciences came in, and we provided some help regarding the data analysis, risk assessments, and we also did some field studies in relation to different aspects of the African swine fever. Yeah, we have been collaborating with a Veterinary Food Service, Estonian Environmental Agency, and Veterinary Food Laboratory in this field. And we can say that this collaboration has been very fruitful. Also, of course, this kind of research can't be done only by our own means. We also collaborate with several research institutes and also European Food Safety Agency and European Union Reference Laboratory for African Swine Fever. And we have also some collaboration with the United Nations International Atomic Energy Agency in this regard. That's more like a global network for the African swine fever research. Okay, well, I will not stop on this slide very long because this is just describing what has been done. And then mostly we have been doing the epidemiological analysis, some field studies on wild boar behavior and virus survival in the environment and role of insect vectors in the spread. But more importantly, what our results are talking to us and what it has made us to really change the paradigm. So you see from this slide that actually we could really prove that that wild boar are drivers of the outbreaks in the domestic pigs. So we did some statistics, some spatial-temporal analysis, and showed that really there has to be increase in cases of in wild boar to generate outbreak in domestic pigs. So the outbreaks or cases in wild boar precede outbreaks in domestic pigs, not opposite. We also could demonstrate in our analysis that this didn't appear to me yet, but this is about risk factor analysis, and we showed that actually in our case the larger herds were more at risk of outbreaks. I hope this was the slide. Larger herds had a higher risk of getting outbreak, in contrast to the present understanding that the backyard small holding herds where the biosecurity level is low are more threatened. In Estonian case, larger herds were more threatened. And finally, yes, the spread within the farm, we could say that the spread of the virus was slow. Virus is spreading slowly in the pig population, so it's not very highly contagious virus. In initial steps, initially the virus is spreading quite slowly among. If you see the mortality levels in this table when they appear again, then you see that it doesn't overcome the usual mortality in commercial farms. Okay, let's hope we will see something more. I think it must be almost my final slide. Yes, lessons learned. Very good. Well, we can say that first of all, the paradigm change. The virus is spreading slowly. It's not highly contagious. That's the first. Yes. We can see it both also in wild boar. Although the spread in Estonia was comparatively fast compared to maybe Poland, still there are many cases where actually the virus spread was human-mediated. If you look purely the spread within wild boar populations, the spread is slow. The same with domestic pigs. The second. I have to check. Okay. Yes, that actually brought the veterinary services to change the surveillance principles. Before, it was said to the farmers, you have to report if you observe high mortality. Today we say every pig which dies in the area, infected area, is a suspect of the African swine fever. So regularly the dead animals are now investigated for the African swine fever not waiting for the high mortality. So, yes, the virus can persist in wild boar population for longer periods without any input from the domestic pigs. And this is also has now changed the approach to control. At least in the northern part or northwestern part of Europe, the wild boar are really under the scope, and as soon the outbreak is detected in wild boar, it is aimed to eliminate it as quickly as possible from the wild boar population. And it is possible because the spread is low, so we can do it actually. It also gives us some hope that we can close the area where the wild boar is infected, and we can really clear the area from the infection. And that a good example we have already from Czech Republic, where this focal introduction was eliminated successfully with just closing the area and waiting until the virus does the work, eliminating the carcasses from the area, and now the Czech Republic can be considered a free country again. So, and now finally, what will now be added to the textbooks? We had the infection cycles 1, 2, and 3 by today. The African wildlife cycle, the African or the domestic cycle number 3, and in Africa we had tick and domestic pig cycle in an interface with wildlife and domestic cycle, and now we have the 4th cycle, which is called Eurasian wild boar habitat cycle, which means that the virus can survive for a longer time in Eurasian wild boar habitats, at least in the northern climates, or temperate climates. And control, you can see now how the Belgian authorities are working on the control of African swine fever. There are several different zones, and also in France, you know, the lower part of the map describes the measures taken now in France. There are different zonings, different wild boar management measures taken to control the spread of the virus in Belgium. So, that was my message, and this is part of the truth, not the whole truth. So.
Thank you very much for this information on this swine fever.